Check, check.
Sean's.
Welcome to the Township Whitewater Region's regular council meeting for Wednesday, June 5th. We're going to call ourselves to order here at 1:01 p.m. And I'll confirm that we've got quorum with one councillor not able to be present today. Our first item on the agenda is our national anthem. So I'll ask that people that can, oh, we don't have the national anthem?
Maybe. I'm sorry, I never even thought about that.
Okay, we'll give it a moment.
We got it. We'll get the music anyways, if anything else. Okay.
We're good? So please stand and face the flag. From far and wide old gap, we stand on guard for thee. Keep our hand glorious and free. Oh, can we stand on guard for thee? Oh, can we stand on Excellent. Next is our land acknowledgement. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. We are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We would also like to thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Next item is the adoption of the agenda. So the recommendation before us is that the council of the Township Whitewater Region approve the June 5th, 2024 agenda. A mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Moore. Is there any changes or amendments proposed for the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? It's carried. Next is the adoption of minutes. The recommendation is that the Council of Township Whitewater Region approve the regular and closed session minutes of May 15th, 2024, understanding that the closed session minutes remain confidential. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Olmsted, seconded by Councillor Trim. Any errors or omissions? Thank you. Just a small technical problem. I noticed that there is one committee or board set of minutes that have been attached to the agenda. This is the Beachburg Rec Association minutes from May 27th, 2024. And I'll just give an opportunity to our lead for rec if there's any comments or discussion. No, seeing none, we'll carry on. The next item on our agenda is disclosures of interest. Is there any disclosures for any of the items under our agenda today? And I see none. Excellent. Next item is we jump into some presentations. Now we have 3 presentations that we have to do today, and we're going to just break it up. We're going to do the first one, take a small pause, kind of reorganize ourselves, and then jump into the following 2 items. So, and I have a little bit of preamble before I hand over the floor here. There are lots of pieces that make up the Whitewater Region economy, and I want to speak to a couple of them. The first that comes to mind is the whitewater rafting and tourism when you think of Whitewater Region, especially sport and adventure tourism with our rafting companies, our 2 resorts, our campgrounds, even our short-term rental market. But it isn't just sport and adventure tourism. We also have large manufacturing going on here in Whitewater Region. Magellan, generating a huge number of jobs and shipping product all over the world. We have businesses with international sales, like Glasshouse Botanics, Valley Bio. We have international leaders in outdoor media production, like Heliconia. We have our own brewery. We have our own winery, the only winery in Whitewater Region. Sorry, the only winery in the county. We have housing builders. We have building suppliers, one sitting here. Tradesmen, many different building services. We have storefronts, groceries, entrepreneurs of every kind, and a number of professional services. But one of the largest economic components in Whitewater Region is agriculture. And it's so easy to forget that Whitewater Region has some of the best and most fertile soils in the county. With only 7% of the land mass of Renfrew County, we generate over $43 million in agricultural production, the largest in the county, plus all the service industry that support our farmers markets, our farm gate sales, and our agricultural-based businesses. It's one of these vital agricultural-based businesses that we're going to recognize today. Owners who have served this segment of our economy for over 70 years. And with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to our Deputy Mayor, and we'll get staged for emceeing the presentation.
Great. Thank you very much, Mayor Nicholson. So if I could just ask Jack McLaren and Wayne McLaren, if you could please just come up to the front here with the mayor. There we go. Thank you. A family-owned and operated business that has served dairy farmers in 3 counties over its nearly 70-year history has changed hands as of March 18th. Wayne and his father, company founder Jack McLaren, has decided that after nearly 70 years of McLaren ownership, the time has come for change. Mr. McLaren launched the business May 21st, 1954 on Main Street in Cobden, which started with an electrical contracting for a few years and then got involved with the agriculture industry. Wayne joined his father in the business in 1981, and some 10 years later, he took it over. The company has been a valuable asset to our community and will continue to operate under new ownership. We would like to congratulate the McLarens on their retirement and wish them the very best. Thank you. And if I may, I'll turn it back over to Neil Nicholson.
No, Mr. McLaren, just a certificate to recognize 70 years of service to this community, to the greater community, like I said, as the deputy mayor said, 3 counties, 3 townships, and supporting agricultural business. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, I'll just sit here. Wayne, you don't get left out. The second, Mr. McLaren, for carrying on 33 years, 1981 to 2024. So thank you so much for serving our community. Thank you. Want to say a few words?
We moved the property here in September of 54. Well, we shut the business across from the bank. The building's gone now. Electrical business. But we're on a place to live. So the house where Dink Delicatessen is now, that was a bonded house, hadn't been used for years. I bought that property and put addition on the right-hand side and all across the front. That was in 1955. I bought that building, the first building I built in Cobden. I built a lot of buildings in Cobden. 3 apartment buildings. Did the ag hall, a shop up there, cattle mine. Did a lot of construction here in town.
You made it what it is today.
Pardon?
You made it what it is
Well,
today.
that certainly helped.
Thank you.
Oh.
Good. And the second, Mr. McLaren?
I don't have anything to add.
Good. We have 2 small tokens of appreciation. They're just to take them just in terms of recognizing how you make us feel with all the support that you've been able to provide our community for 70 years. So something to take home. Thank you so much. And with that, you're free to go. Thank you so much.
Did you want to stay and watch the council meeting or?
No, we'll take a short recess and we'll start again in a few moments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Excellent. So what we'll do is we'll recommence now at I can't see that, 1:13 p.m. And our next item on the agenda is a presentation from Sunshine Coach. Mr. Norman Dagg is here to do a presentation for council and just to stress the importance of his organization, how it supports our community. So with that, Mr. Dagg, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council and staff. Sunshine Coach appreciates an opportunity to talk to you a little bit today about what we do. We've been around since 1985, a lot of history behind us. We're going to try to respect your 10-minute time budget today, so I'm going to go through things fairly quickly. It's pretty straightforward stuff. We're going to only present a certain amount, not all of the all those years, but essentially, we're going to provide some general information. I remember to advance the slide. Okay. An overview, a comparison of what our business model is compared to those of conventional businesses that you'd be familiar with. Ours is quite different in a lot of ways. We're going to talk about the role of subsidies and sources for those subsidies. We're going to talk about financial reporting and the agencies who provide oversight for us. I'm going to run through some quick facts and statistics. If time permits, then we'll try to delve into a little bit of some of our future challenges that we're likely to face. And if we don't get that far, then that's also fine. Sunshine Coach is a not-for-profit. We operate under the auspices of a charitable foundation known as Friends of the Disabled Renfrew, Inc. We are the designated specialized transit provider for the town of Renfrew, as well as the townships of Admaston, Bromley, Bontra Valley, Greater Madawaska, Horton, and Whitewater region. This is under the MTO gas tax program, which you're probably all well familiar with. We provide fare-based accessible transportation for people living with any form of disability as embraced under the AODA. In a typical year, we conduct somewhere between 34,000 and 36,000 trips. We operate a fleet of 19 accessible vehicles capable of handling the needs of any form of disability, temporary or permanent, visible or not. The fleet consists of 17 coaches, one mid-size vehicle, one small bus. Am I on the right slide there? Okay. Our staff, we have 26 employees altogether. Our senior managers team consists of 3 people. Executive director is my position, operations manager, and a traffic manager. In addition, in our salaried group, we have a transportation specialist and an operations generalist. We have 20 part-time drivers. We have a logistical support clerk who looks after things for Friends of the Disabled. Friends of the Disabled gives Sunshine Coach NFP status under CRA, and they consist of a volunteer board consisting of a president, past president, treasurer, secretary, and 6 directors. It's interesting to note that it is a court of last resort for funding shortfalls between the NFP revenues from all sources and operational expenditures. Provides capital funding as required for acquiring fleet assets. So that's a pretty important role that that group forms for us. Our business model, it reflects the service to the public nature of our activities and is operated, as I mentioned, as an NFP. The analogy we tend to use is that we are in the business of selling widgets for $25 that cost us $30 each to make. This is counterintuitive to conventional business models because typically the more you sell, the more you earn, the greater profit. Our financial strategies are based on our sustainability plan, which we implemented in 2015, our strategic business plan covering 2023 to 2032, annual operating budgets as approved by a motion of the board, and capital expenditures commensurate with the provisions of our strategic business plan. Note that our current SBP will be made available to our municipal partners upon request. Under our sustainability plan, we have succeeded in building the gas tax program reserves account up to $274,000. That is in excess of 1 year's allocation. It's a safety net, and it also gives us a source of liquid funding in case we have large capital expenditures in any given year. Drawings from the gas tax in 2023 amounted to approximately 14% of revenues from all sources. All targets under the sustainability plan, we're fairly proud of this. We have been met or exceeded all of the targets. And the strategies detailed under the plan have proven themselves effective in our day-to-day operations. Our sustainability plan target is to meet plus or minus 5% of gross revenues. In 2023, we achieved results of slight deficit of 0.02%. So that's pretty close to being nonprofit, not-for-profit there. Okay, here's a comparison to normal business years 2018 to 2023. And this comparison is based primarily or completely on our product that we sell, and that is basically our transit fares, and gives you an example of how our revenues compared to our expenses. Typically, we lose in the neighborhood of 300,000, between 300 and 400,000. And the numbers were significantly higher during the COVID years and the COVID effect that hit everybody. But typically, we're between 300,000 and 400,000. This table demonstrates clearly the need for significant subsidies from several sources in order to keep this transportation service sustainable. Fare revenues consistently, as you can see from the table, fall below expenses. And it's up to us to reach out to the community and beyond, and various government sources for subsidies. The subsidies that we do receive in order of declining percentage is MTO gas tax rebate program, of which you are participants with us. Amortization of deferred contributions, which is a complicated accounting term that I'm not going to bore you with right now. Friends of the Disabled, Renfrew Inc. Municipal subsidies from municipal partners under the gas tax program, of which Whitewater Region is a participant. Funding from Friends of the Disabled from their reserves as required. And we qualify or try to qualify for one-off type funding like the CUES program and the Ontario Safe Restart program. But those are few and far between, and those are just some examples, and nothing in that area for the past couple of years. We enjoy financial oversight, which is pretty extensive. Annual external financial and business process audits are conducted by McKillican and Associates. Annual external financial review and CRA tax filings conducted by McKillican Associates on behalf of Friends of the Disabled. Annual MTO gas tax applications are vetted by the Town of Renfrew Treasurer on behalf of the municipal partners prior to submission to MTO. Annual report of financial and operating statistics submitted to the Canadian Urban Transit Association for cross-vetting with the MTO gas tax application for consistency and determination of future allocations. Annual audited financial statements and budgets are approved by motion of the Friends of the Disabled Board of Directors. And we also participate in various Statistics Canada surveys based on both the transportation sector that we are in, and those typically run a year at a time. So now into the quick facts section, the breakdown of our trip purposes. For medical purposes, almost 60%. Education purposes, almost 8%. Recreational purposes, around 10%. And personal reasons make up 21% of our trip volumes. Ridership breakdown, ambulatory people, 71%. Those confined to wheelchairs, 24%, and attendance, about 4%. Breakdown of destinations, town of Renfrew, 80%. Admas and Bromley, 1.3%. Bonter Valley, 2.3%. Greater Madawaska, a little under 1%. Horton, 1.4%. Whitewater region, 3.46%. Ottawa, Pembroke, Arnprior, 8.6%, and all other locations around 2%. And in Whitewater, for the year 2023, trips that had their origin or their destination within your township, 1,146 trips. Looking at how far behind am I in this? Okay, anyway, quick facts. Fares account for about 70% of our revenues. Gas tax about 14%. Friends of the Disabled on a typical year, 7%. Town of Renfrew, 1.1%. Townships in total, 5 townships, about 0.3%. Amortizations of 7.6%. Breakdown of our expenses, manning, like most operations, 62%. We are totally a professional service. We do not have volunteer drivers or vehicles. Fuel and maintenance, 20% of our budget. All other expenses, 18%. Mileage in 2023, we covered 890,000 kilometers. We consumed 115,456 liters of fuel at an average cost of $1.19 a liter. Vehicle insurance, $40,000, and vehicle maintenance, approximately $50,000. So those are daunting numbers, and they're not declining. So you see some of the challenges ahead of us there. Okay, looking at future challenges, we feel that the current not-for-profit / charitable organization model is limited in its capacity to meet trips. And we feel that we are at or near that capacity right now. The only solution for that is more and sustainable government funding from several sources of government. That remains to be seen whether that's going to come out in order to meet the transit needs. The issue, of course, would lead to trip rationing if we can't get more capital expenditures and operating funding. We're experiencing supply chain issues like almost everybody else. Example of deploying a fully accessible small coach pre-COVID was $56,000. We currently have in the process of acquiring a new one, apples to apples, $90,000 as a price tag on that. That's an increase of $60,000 since COVID for one vehicle. Again, a daunting challenge for us. Replacing vehicles definitely will be daunting for us. How are we doing on the time budget? Good. Okay. Future staffing challenges. Again, I mentioned it's a fully professional service, and our demographic layout for age group 30 to 39, 1. 40 to 49, 3, 50 to 59, 4, 60 to 69, 10, and age 70 to 79, 8. So our workforce is skewed towards older second career people. It's a strategy, and it has been for us. It's been successful, and that people who are driving our clients do not work in our office. Their workplace is the vehicle, and it's miles and miles away, sometimes overnight trip away from our offices. So we need people with, vast life experience who are courteous and capable of handling virtually any situation. So it's been a model that's worked for us. We'd like to get younger, but recruiting workforce is the same challenges that everybody seems to be having. Big challenge is thanks for advancing that, like the zero emission issue that no doubt we're facing. Anybody has any toe in the transportation water is dealing with that. We're having significant issues acquiring vehicles that they do not even have prototypes for yet. The best prototype right now in the converted vehicle that we have is a little under 200 clicks range. That would get us to Ottawa and halfway back. So that won't do in rural areas. And the research is not really looking at rural areas so much. So we're going to have a commitment to fossil fuel vehicles until we're told we can't anymore. But that's going to be a challenge, not only for us, it's going to be a challenge for lots of people. So thinking at the end of the formal part of this, I don't know that we have time for questions, but I invite you to reach out to us at any time if anybody wants clarification or further information or information on a topic perhaps that we haven't covered. Just reach out to us and we'll get information back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Daigle. And at this point, we're going to take time for questions. So I'm considering this a presentation, not a delegation in that sense. But is there any questions from members of council? And I see Councillor Olmsted.
Yeah, thank you for this. And obviously, thank you to the Sunshine Coach, the services of the disabled for the services in Renfrew County. I know lots of people in our community have used the services and continue to use them. Just a question on the business model. You have a comparison, like pre-COVID versus post-COVID. Your revenues pretty much doubled from 2018, 2019, and then obviously dipped during COVID. And then after 2022, 2023, they pretty much doubled from pre-COVID. Is that due to increased usage or increase in fares, or what would you think is the reason for that?
That's a good question. Perhaps I don't want to get into a really long answer, but generally speaking, our fares and our expenses track each other. As we're busier, those go up together, and as we're not so busy, they go down. So that's been our model since beginning in 1985. We are seeing a shift in long haul trips. Ottawa, Pembroke, whatever, places beyond Toronto, Kingston, Penetanguishene, places where centers of medical excellence are being concentrated in large urban centers in order to attract the staff and put all the medical components together in one location. And that obviously adds to our expenses because in a lot of cases, it's one driver, one vehicle for a whole day gone, not being serviced. And the expense, obviously, time and mileage goes up as well. We feel we're capable of doing what we've been doing, and we're ready to adjust our strategic business plan on a moment's notice should additional funding become available. For instance, if they announce an increase in gas tax, for instance, or some of the other federal programs that are coming on board. Problem for us is that we are not a healthcare provider. We're outside that. We're not a municipal. We're a municipal partner, but we're not a municipality. So it's difficult for us to make application for those kinds of grants. And have been trying to, and will continue to try to reach out to various levels of government to help in that, not only partnering with us day to day, but also looking into the future. So we're hoping to establish partnerships. To be honest with you, we have our hands full moving people around. We don't really have time or capacity to hire anybody to navigate those waters where the grants live. So it's kind of a difficult situation for us. So we're kind of on the lookout to partner with some organizations who can help out with that. Short of that, then basically our strategic business plan is calling for us to maintain the capacities we have going forward, dealing with the challenges of supply chain and zero emissions. That's essentially where we are right now.
Any other members of council? Questions, discussion, comments? Good. I have a couple I'm going to throw out at you. Other agencies. So you highlighted, I think, 5 municipalities that you directly support. And I know Pembroke has a handy bus as an example. Are there other agencies like yours within the county that offer similar levels of service?
Yes, there are. Care4 is the largest. They're 100% in the healthcare transportation. We do a lot of work for them, subcontracting. There is Handy Bus, as you mentioned. Care4 has been supporting some of the seniors home support organizations around Renfrew and wherever else. I don't know how far afield that's their area, not mine, but there is a need. Accessible transportation is a growth industry, no question about it, because as people age, as population ages, as the concentration of services, goods and services are in not in rural areas, there's room for more. There's room for growth, and we're working with other agencies and groups to try to develop a coordinated plan for Renfrew County, because Renfrew County is a very specific jurisdiction. As you all know, it's bigger than the province of PEI and has 85% of the population spread out over a bigger area. So those create problems that don't resonate in Metro Toronto, where these decisions are made, where the check writers and decision makers live. So we're doing what we can, but it would be nice to be 24/7. We're currently the only service right now in Renfrew County that offers weekend service. And most of that is specifically for dialysis and medical responses. It'd be nice to be 24/7 to handle all the transportation needs, because people with medical issues who require accessible transportation need it for all the other aspects of their lives as well. So all the quotidian things that we take for granted, there isn't a lot of coverage available for that. It would be nice to be 24/7, but we can't do that on our own. We're a volunteer board, does the fundraising, and we have gas tax subsidies and subsidies for from the participants of the town of Renfrew and the 5 townships that are participants in the gas tax program. That's essentially what we have in terms of subsidies, and that's why we're making the case that we're at capacity, and we believe that growth is not possible under the current model, but we do believe that we can maintain the levels that we have, this levels of service. So at least we're not declining, we're not losing ground, but it'd be nice if we could have sustainable funding that would see us provide transportation for everybody that needs it whenever they need it.
Yeah, and I would just echo. It's a service that we cannot go without, but I think because it's handled by not-for-profits, we tend to just forget about it. Think, oh, Norm's doing a great job. It may be a way where we could leverage the efforts of all of the organizations. Then the federal government might hear us in terms of getting that capital funding necessary. Is that something you guys have considered?
That's appealing. To me, the problem is there's such disparity and so many disparate organizations involved in this, and they all have funding flows and they have reporting groups and whatnot. Like, it would take an effort getting those decision makers into a room, and that's beyond our purview. Like, we have our hands full, doing what we do. That needs, in some ways, to be a provincial solution, at least, maybe federal, and then those discussions need to happen around the cabinet table, and I'm not privy to any of that. So I'm not sure what the way forward is, but it's more than one person in one group that needs to be involved in it. So I mean, if everyone here has access to, resources or, ways and means or discussions are being undergone in various other forums and rooms. Maybe we could start coordinating that because people become aware of it, say, oh, well, what about this? And maybe we should talk to this and get these people in the room. So if that process were to happen, call us because we will go anywhere and talk about accessible transportation because it's a needed service, no question. We've demonstrated that since 1985, but it's also one that's in peril to some extent.
Good. What I'll just say, I know that we've been working very hard in our seniors support organization, and Stephanie's here. I know that we've used you in the past to support kind of recreational activities, and I hope that partnership continues. Yeah, I'm getting a nod. So that's excellent. And if there's no other questions from members of council, the issue that you present today, the job that you're doing is awesome and so much need, not just now, but into the future. I'm going to bring up some of these questions at the county just to see if there's something that we can do more regionally to try to support the future needs and that growth. So I know that the Reeve of Town of Renfrew is also tracking this. Peter Emo.
If I could just say, at the county level, we have presented a document that would, at least a discussion paper on a direction for accessible transportation. I haven't heard anything back from that, and it's on somebody's desk. If you could find it, you may need to dust it off, but we have been participants in that, and we are open to any suggestion to talk to anybody. If there's any way that we can help or there's expertise that we can contribute to the discussion, call us. We'll go anywhere, anytime. So if you get an opportunity, just you can bring up our name and say, yeah, these people come and talk to you. So we can't do more than that right now. So.
And that's perfect. Thank you so much. I may touch base with you offline just to see if I get a copy of that discussion paper, if that's possible. Excellent. Well, with that, I just want to, on behalf of the township, thank you for what you and all the people in your organization do to support our community. 1,146, I think, was the number of rides you quoted us in 2023.
Sounds about right.
So thank you. I really appreciate it. And I think we all do. If there are challenges or concerns, please reach out to staff and we'll try to work with you to try to find a solution.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for this opportunity. And, anytime you want to talk again, just give us a shout. We'll be here. Thanks a lot.
Excellent. And don't feel like you have to stay here. Please go back and continue your good work. Good. Go do the work that needs to be done. Yeah, excellent. Thank you, sir. Our third item under presentations is 6.3, a public meeting. And what I'll do is, in our format is to pause the regular council meeting. So we're going to pause the regular council meeting here at 1:41 and bring our public meeting to order at 1:41 p.m. This application is for zoning amendment D14-198. The address is 1106 Curline. The public meeting has been convened to hear comments and receive information from the public regarding proposed application to amend the Township of Whitewater Region zoning bylaw in accordance with the Planning Act. We have a motion that deals with this zoning amendment application, and you'll see it later on under section 9 of our agenda after the public meeting. So at this point, we don't have Planner Benzie in the room, so our other planner, the CAO, is going to lead this portion of the public meeting.
Yeah, thanks so much. So I'll just commence with the planner statement. So if any person or public body does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Whitewater Region before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of council to the Ontario Land Tribunal. The person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing on an appeal before the tribunal unless in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. Under section 3411 of the Planning Act, if council decides to refuse an application or refuses or neglects to make a decision on an application within 120 days of the municipal clerk receiving the application, the applicant or the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing may appeal to the tribunal by filing an appeal with the clerk of the municipality. Under section 3419 of the Planning Act, it states that not later than 20 days after giving notice of passing of the bylaw, the applicant, any person or public body who made oral submissions to the public meeting or made written submissions to the township before the bylaw was passed, or the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing may appeal to the OLT by filing an appeal with the clerk of the municipality. You want me to just go right into the presentation?
Yes, please. If you can
Great,
give us
thanks.
a presentation of the file, please.
Excellent. So the present application before council, it was submitted by John Devine. He's the property owner of the lands that were severed and are going to be added to the dwelling here. So the application was reviewed by the Committee of Adjustment chaired by Councillor Trim on April 18th and was approved. One of the conditions of approval of consent of the severance was that they apply for a zoning amendment, which is before council now. The purpose of the application is that the concerned parcel, which is the parcel in yellow on the attachment, currently has an exception zone, exception 27. And the lands to which it'll be added to, which is the lands that are fronting on Curline, are in the rural zone. So for consistency purposes and to remove that exception zone to this enlargement of the parcel, the proposal is to remove exception 27 from those lands that are in yellow on the plan in front of you. So the lands to the south, which were the lands that are going to be retained, will continue to have that exception 27. But all of the lands, the house and this newly added portion of land will remove the exception 27. Exception 27, what that means is it was an amendment that was made some time ago, and the purpose of which was to allow a welding repair shop as an additional permitted use. So the person who's buying this portion does not want a welding shop and is acceptable to this change. The application for the consent and zoning are consistent with the PPS, provincial policy statement, official plan for the county of Renfrew, and our zoning bylaw. So all of which this application will not contravene these documents. Staff are supportive of this application. They're supportive of the consent, and the consent was already approved by the Committee of Adjustment. So just looking for council's concurrence on the present application. Thanks so much. I will note before you ask, there's no members of the public present here today. There's nobody who's asked to speak via the Zoom, so you could move it to the public, but I'm not expecting any response from anybody. Thanks.
Perfect. CEO. The last question I had was, is anybody submitting any written feedback?
No written requests.
Excellent. So council just acknowledge there's no applicant to speak on behalf of this application. There's no members of the public here to make comment, nor has comment been provided in writing or virtually. With that, we'll open the floor to council, members of council. Any questions, Councillor Trim?
Mr. Mayor, as chair of the Committee of Adjustment, I'd just like to reiterate what the CAO has said, that this was approved unanimously by the committee. And it is, as he has said, this is to sort of make these lands zoned more appropriate for their use. And what's not mentioned here is there's other lands belonging to the owner on the other side of the rail line, but they're naturally severed. And so all of these lands now will be RU, which is appropriate zoning for this area. However, the small severed portion, is it retained or severed? Your small retained portion will still have the exception so that the welding shop, if need be, can continue as it was. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. But yes, this is seen by the planners to be a very good amendment. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other comments or questions from members of council? Okay, seeing none, thank you, CAO, for providing that overview, and we made it available for the public to provide comment and before we make the decision. We'll adjourn our public meeting now at 1:48 PM, and we'll reconvene our Township Regular Council meeting at 1:48 PM. Good. Next item is the mayor's address. And I have some notes as usual. Since our last council meeting, I attended 10 meetings and events on behalf of council, including County of Renfrew council meeting. I won't go through that. The package will probably get presented to council at the next meeting, so we can go through it at that point in time. First, I just want to highlight our recent Chamber of Commerce Mayor's Breakfast that we hosted here a week ago at the Whitewater Brewery. It was great to see so many businesses and business owners join us for breakfast, and a presentation from the Renfrew and Lanark Labor Market Group. And they clearly reinforced the changing demographics in our greater area and how this is going to continue to impact our business community. He broke the people in attendance into three groups. We actually physically stood and reorganized into a group that was basically 65 and older, between 50 and 65, something like that, or 40 to 60, 40 plus, and anyone under the age of 40. We had 4 people under the age of 5 if we count the infant. We had 4 under the age of 40. So interesting to see that impact, that is going to continue to be the trend that we're seeing in our communities, an older workforce. So thanks very much for staff for setting up this event in partnership with Kelly and the Chamber. And a big thank you to Jamie Bramberger for his presentation. I also attended an Eastern Ontario Housing Summit. I wanted to share you some ideas and thoughts that I had from that housing summit. This was hosted in Ottawa by the Greater Ottawa Home Builders Association. I think there was over 300 people in attendance, some very significant builders, a lot of municipalities and counties. So what we heard from was a number of presenters. Scotiabank presented on the impact financially of the current housing crisis. Panels included feedback from builders and developers. One of the things that came up is they talked about the greatest demand for housing facing the counties surrounding Ottawa. So the instinct has been that everybody's short of 1 bedroom. And the stats actually indicate that it's 3-bedroom units is the #1 shortfall in the counties surrounding Ottawa. The stats that they presented, it showed that the demand is skewed by the number of foreign students attending in different communities. So there is a huge spike that goes between the 18 and 22-year-old range, and then not again until you get into the over 25s when people start looking for 3 bedrooms. The population increases, although they are small for Renfrew County and Whitewater region, are seen in 2 specific groups, the 24 to 35-year-olds and the 50 to 60-year-olds. So these are people who've gone off, gone to school, got a job, and now are deciding to come back outside of Ottawa to raise their family or take the next step in their lives. Or 50 to 60. They've secured what they want. They're coming here to for a space, quality of life, and a lower cost of living. The phrase that we used at the conference is "you drive until you qualify." Okay, so that's a perspective. What was noticed is that like almost all of the population growth experienced by the counties surrounding Ottawa are people from Ontario. There's almost no one moving from other provinces or international. So again, these are factors that builders and developers are using when they're doing their planning, some of this information. So I believe that Whitewater's well positioned to welcome this potential growth, no matter what it results in. We have a number of very possible vacant lots, plus our subdivision plans here in Cobden. We have a robust building official team and planning staff that can help us ensure that we have growth. growth that we recognize is important for everything from schools to our own economy. The summit also discussed the rural development and the potential for communal water and wastewater systems to help support rural subdivisions and intensify rural development. So the County of Frontenac, we've spoken about this before, their Municipal Servicing Corporation is being used as a model for both Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus and the County of Renfrew. They're looking at it to replicate, to support sustainable rural development. So it'll be interesting to see if this is something that may be able to support here in Whitewater region. The next item I just want to talk about is just to highlight the incredible news that was announced by the province of Ontario here at the Cobden Legion on May 22nd. Minister Cho, Minister of Seniors and Accessibilities, came for a visit with our own MPP, John Yakabuski, and together they announced that the province has decided to grant the Township of Whitewater Region annual operating funds of up to $50,000 to open and operate a seniors active living center. Essentially, we're going to continue the work that we're already doing using piecemeal grants that we're delivering the programs in Westmeath, Beachburg, Foresters Falls, Haley, and Cobden. It's an incredible win for our residents, and thanks to the incredible amount of work and effort from our volunteers, the Seniors Task Force team that was first initiated in Mike's term as mayor a mere 5 years ago and is now transitioned to a seniors working group has actually led their unrelenting efforts, have ensured that we can meet the needs of our rural Ontario, and they're bearing fruit. So I want to thank our volunteers, our staff, council members for your continuing support and work to achieve this. Next steps, and I talked to manager of community services. Once we have a working septic at some point, we're going to do some sort of event to recognize our volunteers at our new office in Foresters Falls. So more to follow at a later date. So just want to brag, we're one of 316 seniors active living centers in Ontario. So it is incredible that we were recognized for our rural need. A couple other points to close with. Thank you to our Public Works team. So Public Works Week occurred since our last council meeting, May 19th to May 25th. The team does so much for us in winter and summer to keep us safe and on our roads. So thank you. Please slow down if you're passing any of our members' teams. They're out there doing brushing all over the place right now. June is also Seniors Month, Pride Month, and Recreation Month. So I know there's going to be lots of activities. I'm already starting to see them posted at the library and some of our other organizations. So please get out and enjoy the beautiful weather and our beautiful community. The last one I'll just highlight was we opened a new business since the last council meeting, Sconed Bake Shop across the street just here, right beside our hometown. So if you want to taste a wonderful scone, please stop there. Excellent to see new business owners, young family, meeting the demographics that I just talked about. So welcome to Sconed Bake Shop, and happy 1-year anniversary to our hometown store. Great, that ends my mayor's report. Thank you guys. Any questions or comments from members of council on that? Good, seeing none, we'll move on. Public comments. Clerk, is there any public comments for us today?
None.
Thank you. And we'll jump into our reports. First report is 9.1, their zoning bylaw amendment we heard at our public meeting. The recommendation is that the council of the Township of Whitewater Region approve an amendment to the zoning category of severed parcel in consent application D10233, presented as described as lot 22, Ross concession 9, from rural exception 27 to rural. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Trim, seconded by Councillor Moore. There's no need for us to ask staff to represent what was already presented recently in our public meeting. Is there any questions or comments from member of council? I see none. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Good. Next one, fire department burn ban signs. The recommendation is that the council of Township Whitewater Region approve the removal of current burn ban signs. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Trim, seconded by Councillor Moore. And I'm going to turn it over to the fire chief.
Thank you. We're recommending removing the former or current burn ban signs as they don't reflect the current open air burning bylaw that we have. There's no portion of these signs that allow us to have a partial burn ban. These signs are in disrepair. They're not consistent across the township, as many of them were add-ons to existing signage. Some were actually already removed when signs were replaced a number of years ago. The way we communicate our burn bans now is with the township website, the Facebook page, and even more accurately, we can push messages through our permitting system to instantly tell people that there's a burn ban in place or one that has been lifted. Also, a requirement of the permit system is that before burning, you would have to phone an automated number, and that also tells you if there's a burn ban in place. So the recommendation would be to remove these signs, a bit of a cost-saving measure as a bit of a, to avoid some miscommunication. People sometimes, especially in the past, would turn them to burn ban off if they wanted to burn and use that as a bit of an excuse to avoid getting in trouble for not following the ban. So I think with kind of our current system in place and some public education, the removal of these signs makes sense. So with that, I'll turn it over for any questions.
Thanks, Fire Chief. And Councillor Trim, you're my mover. Any comments or questions?
A comment, if I may, Mr. Mayor, this is great. I have been challenged by residents on a number of occasions about the burn ban signs. And this gives me really good information to defend council's decision. I think it's a very wise decision, and I'm happy it's there. And I personally am on a mission to inform people that every single fire that people start out of doors needs a permit. That's not very well understood. And it doesn't matter if you're visiting from Toronto or where you are, you need to have a permit. And if you have the permit, if you're phoning to activate a permit, you get the information about a ban or a partial ban, and you know. So that's my mission, to make sure every time I see somebody with a match, I talk to them. And and this is great, and I really appreciate the work of the fire department, and it does complement our updated fire permit regulations. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Trim. Or seconder, Councillor Moore? No comments. Any other feedback or comments from other members of council? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to throw two questions at the fire chief. First one is just about if you're not online, you want to get a permit, you want to find out about the fire ban, it's as simple as a phone call, correct?
That is correct. A phone call to the office, it can be done here or to me directly, and we can get people set up with a permit. All we really require is an address, ideally a phone number, but if that doesn't exist, we can work around that as well.
Perfect. And the second thing is just the communication strategy. And I know this has gone out in our current, reminding people seasonally for renewing basically their recreational burn permits. Has any thought been given to something like a fridge magnet where people would have that, information available every time they look at the fridge?
Yeah, certainly there does need to be an increase or a different level of communication, or a different form of communication, I should say. And that the fridge magnet is a good idea. Not everybody's going to be following the website or the Facebook page. So just that little reminder of what's required, I think is definitely needed.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other comments, questions from members? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Thank you. Next item, again, back to the fire chief. Whitewater Region Fireworks Bylaw. The recommendation is that the Council of Township Whitewater Region approve a bylaw to regulate the sales and use of fireworks. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Trim, seconded by Councillor Moore. Fire chief.
Thank you. The fireworks issue comes up pretty much every summer, whenever there's a burn ban in place, our current open air burning policy, as well as the provincial policy, whenever they put their bans on, which we've seen a number of times in the last few years, actually allows fireworks throughout burn bans, which obviously has the potential to cause some fire spread. So the recommendation would be to implement a fireworks bylaw and a permitting system very similar to our fire permits. For your consumer grade, people that just want to have a private fireworks show, the permitting would be free, would be done online, like I said, through the same system we use for our burn permits. And then we'd have an increased level of display level for public events or the display type fireworks that are larger and potentially more dangerous. The other thing this bylaw would do is it would provide a bit of information for people. They sometimes will be looking for information. It's not the easiest thing to find online. It is controlled by the MNRF, and there are some regulations related to it, but it's not the easiest information to find. So we'd have this document to help them, guide them through the process. Really, the only financial implication would be the display permits, and I suspect that would be less than 10 a year, maybe even less than 5. It wouldn't be a lot, I don't think. So with that, I'll turn it over for any questions.
Good, thank you. And I'll go to the mover first, Councillor Trim.
Yes, very similar to my comments about the signs. This is going to work. I've talked to fire chief about this. It's going to work in hand with the burn permits. And again, it's free. And they will be informed about how safe it is to have a private fireworks display, how safe it would be. And so then it removes the concern of neighbors and others questioning whether it should be allowed or not. These people would have had permission, and they wouldn't be doing it if it's not safe to do so. So again, I'm very much in support of this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Seconder, Councillor Moore.
Yes, I do. To the fire chief, under analysis, it refers to public property, but it doesn't say private property. And we don't get into private property until we're on page 4, 3.3. So should private property be included?
That's speaking to do using consumer grade fireworks on public property. If you're using display fireworks, you would need a display permit even on private property. Many of the rec organizations will use consumer grade fireworks because there's fewer regulations, they're easier to obtain, and this type of thing. But when they're being done on public property, they'll still need to get a display permit just so we can kind of inspect the site and make sure it's safe. And we're often involved in putting off these fireworks already. So there's already that integration.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll come back to Councillor Trim after Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor, and through to the chief. Just one quick question. Is there a timeline established on that? Like, can a person shoot off a firework at 3 o'clock in the morning? Or is that in this bylaw? I just wasn't, I didn't see it.
It isn't in the draft bylaw, but it was something that we discussed recently. Probably putting a time of 1 o'clock would be the latest you could draw fireworks. A lot of bylaws also have days stipulated when you can do it. Canada Day, New Year's. I'm a little bit reluctant to go down that road because there's weddings, there's other events. As our community changes, there's religious events that we're maybe not used to that they may want to celebrate with fireworks as well. So I'd like to leave that part open, but the timing I think is something that's important.
Okay, well, I think if it just gets out of hand or you get into that situation, perhaps we just have to bring it back and take another look at that. Just in case there is that, because that can happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Starts going at 3 o'clock in the morning. I wouldn't appreciate it. Thank you.
Good. Councillor Bell.
Just a comment on the communication piece. I'm wondering, just with the change in the with the last with 9.2 and then with this fireworks bylaw, whether we should send out a specific document just outlining both the changes and, well, the change or the implementation of this bylaw, the changes, or maybe not the changes, but are the current status of the open air fire permits. One, just to make sure that everyone's aware, because that's a comment that I regularly get, is that, you know, not everybody's on Facebook, not everybody's online. So getting a piece of mail that outlines this specifically, not even necessarily in the current, but just as its own separate piece of paper document outlining that these two things are now in effect and this is how to go about doing that, as well as communicating why we're doing that, reiterating that it is free, but it's just a backstop for the fire department and to make them aware of, you know, some of the events that are going on or where people are having fires, why it's more about the safety and the letting the fire department know what's going on. I think that might be an important thing for people to recognize. One, that it is free, and two, that everybody just gets that in their mailbox and outlines why we're doing it. That would be my 2 cents on that.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other comments before I do second round? Okay, perfect. Councillor Trim.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Perhaps further to Deputy Mayor Regular's comment, which I think are very good. Something like that can be addressed in a noise bylaw more appropriately. It's just a thought. We don't have a noise bylaw, but if we did. The second thing is I'm not sure that Article 3.2 might be redundant. It doesn't really make sense to me. However, I could be just misreading it.
3.2.
Yeah, 3.2. Unauthorized fireworks. It doesn't seem to be anything added to 3.1. I don't know what it's attempting to say, but anyway.
If I could, Fire Chief McLaren, so this is presented to council, sort of give direction to approve. We'll come back with a final bylaw at the next meeting for adoption. We'll look at those two numbers to see the reasoning for them. I think it's mostly for enforcement purposes, but we'll have a look at it before we come back on June 19th. Thanks.
Any other comments, input from members of council? Okay, the only one I would, not related necessarily to the content of the draft, is that I'm expecting that our not-for-profit groups will probably be looking for a fee waiver. Is that, because there'll be commercial, it'll be a commercial display, right? Is that correct, Fire Chief?
Yeah, I suspect that's accurate. And since we often put off the fireworks for them anyway, I'm sure it's something that can easily be worked out.
Perfect. So CAO, sorry.
If I could just add, so the establishment of fees and charges is one of council by bylaw. So as a result, then council needs to be the ones who decide that we're not imposing those fees. Staff don't really have the authority under our delegation of authority bylaw, but in kind, these types of things are all being considered and will be presented to council in some type of package for the 2025 budget. So for the present time, I think the fee is $100 for the commercial type display or display fireworks. So not extremely onerous, but yes, it would apply. Yes.
Good. Nothing else. So like the CAO had mentioned, this will come back. This draft will come back with some of the changes as you guys have asked them to relook at, and you'll see it again on June 19th. With that, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Thank you. Next item is a salt shed purchase for Mindview Yard. The recommendation is the Council of Township Whitewater Region approve quotation number 311 from Wren Construction and Wren Ovation for the purchase and install of a 42 by 40 CC series Calhoun superstructure at a cost of $80,000, 82.16 inclusive of non-refundable HST through canoe procurement contract 071223-CLH. And item 2, number 2024-082 from Thomas Kavanaugh Construction Limited for the supply and install asphalt for the base of the salt shed. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Trim. And Manager of Public Works.
Yeah, thank you. This is another purchase through the canoe procurement. Calhoun is one of the two suppliers that does the coverall buildings. Staff did reach out to the other company previous in the year, but had no local suppliers. And then recently Calhoun became a partner with Canoe, with the local installer and dealer, which is Ren Construction and Renovation. Currently, the township has 3 sand and salt sheds, one being here in Cobden, 2 in Westmeath, 1 for sand, 1 for salt, and then just a sand shed in the Mindview garage. So staff did provide did the two manufacturers with decided with the local bidder with Calhoun, which does provide 10% discount from list cost. Staff did analyze for the budget for the 2 sizes, and staff are recommending the larger size of 42 by 40 at a total cost of $87,687, which would provide 22% more volume than the smaller size, and also with the benefit of having a solid shed and additional size that we can actually stockpile salt right now. Typically right now we're ordering one or 2 winter events ahead. So if there's a shortage that we've seen a few years ago, we would have enough inventory to cover the winter events. So with the 87,000 cost of the larger salt shed, it's 12,687,000 over the 2024 capital budget amount of 75,000, and staff are recommending using DC money on development charge money because it was listed for expansion of salt sheds and sand sheds. And that I'll pass back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. Thank you. And mover, Councillor Moore, you get first comment.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with the purchase. I understand what has happened in previous years, but as we move along and demographics and things change, it would be advantageous to have a stockpile of more salt, et cetera, with climate change, et cetera. And some events can happen back to back and we don't have time for delivery. So this will help out immensely, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Trim, the seconder.
2 things, if I may. Will, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager, will we be preparing the base prior to the application of asphalt, our own staff?
That is correct.
Okay. And secondly, is there a plan in place to protect the wood and cement superstructure from the very corrosive, abrasive, wet material that could be that will be present?
Yes. So the actual Calhoun structure will sit on large concrete blocks, 3 by 6 concrete blocks. And then with the additional 8-foot metal structure, there will be plywood put on top of that to protect the actual metal structure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. Any other questions from members of council? Seeing none, I just have one, and either you or the treasurer, but the asset management implications of this procurement. What are we anticipating for costs to maintain or keep this kind of structure viable into the future?
Yeah, I can answer that. So staff did ask for what the life expectancy of the actual the tower, and it does have a 25-year warranty. It's prorated, but then the cost for the replacement cost for the actual the tarp itself. Sorry, I had it. I think it's $3,500 to replace it in 2024 dollars.
Perfect. The only suggestion I'd make is that if we are making capital procurements and the financial implications, if we include future asset management costs, because by virtue of buying the shed, we are pre-approving that we're going to maintain it and keep it. So that's an increase to the 4.2% that we budgeted this year, as an example. So it's an automatic as part of this decision. Good. Any other comments or questions? Excellent. I look forward to seeing another nice shed. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Excellent. Next item, 9.5. Local area services, electricity and natural gas procurement. The recommendation is that the Council of the Township Whitewater Region authorize staff to, one, enter into an agreement with the local area services for 2024 for the provision of electricity and natural gas for each of the township's 40 hydroelectricity and 10 natural gas accounts, and two, to enroll with local area services for the provision of the LAS, the local area services EPT energy planning tool. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Moore, Councillor Olmsted, and going to Superintendent Nicholson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just to dive in here, back in 2019, the township entered into an agreement with Ontario Wholesale Energy to purchase our electricity and gas for a 5-year term. That term is ending on August 25th of 2024. Therefore, staff started to evaluate our future energy purchasing arrangements. And as part of the 2024 budget preparations, staff also identified that there were some potential savings opportunities to be had with respect to our energy purchasing for our water and wastewater treatment plants. Currently, the township has a cost plus service contract with Aqua, and they were processing all of our energy bills, so staff have since removed those bills from the cost plus contract, and the township is now paying our bills directly, and thereby removing those administrative fees associated with those invoices. So that was one of the first things that staff identified as potential savings for us going forward. Also, so upon removal of the administrative costs for the wastewater and water accounts, staff began to research other energy purchasing opportunities that are available to municipalities. So local authority services, LAS, electricity procurement program was identified as an energy purchasing solution that many Ontario municipalities use. So one of the LAS's procurement, the electricity program, currently provides electricity procurement for 94 Ontario municipalities, and that provides municipalities with predictable electricity costs through a professionally administered program. So this program provides consistent and competitive electricity and natural gas pricing, as opposed to municipalities purchasing their energy through the standard open market. So specifically what LAS does is it removes our accounts from time of use rates and places them into a hedge alongside the other 100 or so other municipalities. And that allows us to fix up to 75% of our the commodity cost in this program. The other 25% would remain in the market. Per se. It also allows for street accounts to be removed from the regulated price plan and to be billed only for the hours they are used. And now this is one that actually benefits because usually lights are turned on at nighttime when the energy rates are the lowest. So the two things that this plan offers are some better pricing and also some stability to the township. So if we were to enroll with this program, LAS also provides things such as monthly billing summaries, yearly summaries of the performance of the hedge. And they also provide support to municipalities for our annual energy reporting requirements that we are required to undertake. So while we engaged with LAS, we requested that LAS do an analysis of any potential savings that the township could see by enrolling with them. And they did that by comparing the township's current contract with Ontario Wholesale Energy to LAS for the year of 2024. The long story short with LAS, at least for 2024, is that including the fees, that the administrative portion of their fees, the current rate for electricity is 5.02 cents per kilowatt hour. Whereas currently with the Ontario Wholesale Energy, the rate is the floating global adjustment rate plus Ontario Wholesale Electricity has an additional 0.95 cent kilowatt hour fee that they add on top. So what LAS did is they looked at our current energy usage across our buildings and service, all of our service accounts. And they looked at 3 different hedge levels, 25%, 50%, and 65%. These are the most common 3 levels that municipalities will enroll with LAS in. So for example, if a municipality selects a 65% hedge level, then 65% of our consumption would be billed at the fixed LAS rate, and the leftover 35% consumption will be billed at the market rate. So the savings that were estimated by LAS, if all of the township's accounts and streetlights were moved over at the 65% hedge rate, will realize approximately $22,827. That would be if we were enrolled for the entire year. Another example is the 25% hedge actually realized $36,000 in savings. And specifically of note, at the 65% level, approximately $9,000 of that would be directly attributed to savings that the wastewater treatment plant would realize, as that is one of our largest energy users. So those savings, if they were to be over the course of a full year, would directly impact the rates for the wastewater plant users. So a key thing to understand here is that these comparisons that were provided do not include regulatory fees, delivery charges, or taxes. LAS doesn't have control over that, and that is not what was compared. What was compared was simply the electricity cost and the global adjustment charges. So ultimately, our final bills would be higher than these numbers that are shown. These are the charges that would be just for solely the electricity portion of our bills. So as many of our township accounts are locked into the Ontario Wholesale Energy contract until the end of August, our enrollment would potentially begin in September for the majority of the accounts. The water and wastewater accounts that were formerly under Aqua could be enrolled immediately if we chose to. So therefore, in 2024, we'd expect that we would see approximately 33% of the savings that were shown in the tables above. So something to understand is that while the LAS assessment showed that the lowest hedge amount of 25% shows the highest savings, this is because in 2023, the spot rates averaged less than the LAS hedge rate in place in 2024. It resulted in a lower percentage of hedge realizing more savings, However, this lower hedge means that there was more exposure to the spot market, and therefore there was a greater amount of risk. So the higher hedge, for instance, 65, offers both savings over the existing program and some protection from market volatility. On average, LAS provided us some history of the performance of the program, and between 2018 and 2024, municipalities saved around 5% using their program. So big swings in the market, such as COVID, will throw these sorts of things into disarray. So you'll see in, for instance, in 2020, it was a 3% loss, as less than if you had been enrolled in the time of use savings. But overall, over the course of the program's performance, it has been in the positive for municipalities. So moving on to the next program is the natural gas assessment. So LAS partners with Edison Energy to offer group buying for natural gas. Natural gas purchasing is a little more straightforward than the energy purchasing. So what LAS and Edison did is they provided us a comparison of what their offer rate is for 2024 as compared to what the township paid what the township would have paid if we were using the union rates, which is again the market rates. You can see that the savings are actually quite dramatic. They're pushing 30% in 2022 and 28% in 2023. Now that's what the savings would have been if we weren't in an energy hedging program that we're in with Ontario Wholesale Energy. So in addition to that, staff compared our 2022 and 2023 natural gas costs, the rates, compared to what the OWE rates were in 2022, 2023. And there was modest savings comparing the two programs. In 2022, it was 5%. And in 2023, the rates were the same. So there was no change. So overall, it was about a 2% savings. So if we were to stay with a program similar to OWE, we could potentially still see some savings. If we don't continue on with any procurement, we could see our costs go up significantly. So it is important for us to enroll in some sort of energy hedging program. So one thing to note is that the savings that we would see with the natural gas program really are dependent on what the market looks like. The natural gas market does see can see large swings. Currently, the rate, the union rate is in January was about 13 cents per cubic meter. Currently, it's at 0.8 cents per cubic meter. And the rate that LAS and Edison are using right now is about 13 cents per cubic meter. Now, for a range to understand where those numbers sit, some COVID era lows were about 7 cents a cubic meter, whereas in early 2006, it was 41 cents a cubic meter. So there is quite a large swing in the market. So again, enrolling in such a program like this takes that volatility out of the purchase. So there might be some months where our rate is higher, but over the course of the long term, they're generally lower, and it makes budgeting easier for the township. So you don't see those big swings from year to year. One other small note from the staff time perspective is LAS does offer what they call their energy planning tool, or the EPT. Basically, for all the accounts that are enrolled, LAS can automatically upload all of our energy data into a database. And that helps staff with their annual energy reporting, and it helps to track energy usage a little more in time, as opposed to at the end of the year when reporting has to occur. And it can be quite a timely process to hand enter energy bills. So it's a relatively small cost, about $300 this year to enroll with that program. So as far as the financial implications, as I mentioned, LAS for the energy portion do suggest there's 3 different hedging levels, 65%, 50%, and 25%. The majority, being 70% of municipalities, do enroll with LAS at a chosen hedge level of 65%. So staff do recommend selecting a hedge level of 65% in order to realize those regular savings and also provide the greatest protection from market fluctuations and to aid in annual budgeting process. So as far as next steps go, it would just involve staff contacting LAS and we could move forward with signing a contract with them, like I said, for the water accounts as soon as possible, and then the remaining accounts in August. That's everything. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
That was a lot to take in a short time. I'm in favor of signing up, and as soon as you can sign up water and sewer, I would think that would be, or wastewater, sorry. I think that would be advantageous. So thank you.
Councillor Olmsted, seconder.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Moore. That was a lot of numbers and a lot of information. But it's numbers and it makes sense. So there's savings involved, and I'd recommend moving forward. Thank you.
Councillor Trim.
Yes, Manager Nicholson's reports are always long and detailed, which I appreciate because it doesn't leave any room for questions. It's all there. However, I have two, not directly related, if I may, Mr. Mayor. Number one is propane. Is propane some sort of a purchasing agreement with propane available, or do we not use enough of it to even worry? That's number one. And number two is this is one really good way to save on energy costs. Another good way to save on energy costs is to not use it. And I'm wondering if there's ever been a thought that there would be some energy auditing of our facilities to see if improvements can be made in the use of energy. And it may be worth spending capital dollars. It could be shown that it'd be worth spending capital dollars in order to reduce future energy use. So again, not directly related to the report, but things that were brought to mind as I read it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Does one of the staff want to respond?
Sure, I can speak to the capital aspect of things. So in 2024, this is the year actually currently, the township is required to update our conservation and demand management plan. So that is supposed to be our large wholesale energy planning document. Staff have some ideas, let's just say that. And we will be coming forward with that demand and management plan to council. And that is exactly it, having some building audits done and getting a list into our capital plan of some upgrades that could be done across all of our facilities is something that staff feels should be included in that plan with some significant level of detail for sure. But I will turn over to the Public Works Manager for the answer on the propane.
Yep. So our fuel and our heating fuel, we did tender, I want to say 2020, I think it was, with a 5-year term. And then with propane, we actually locked in for a price annually for it. And we did switch from our suppliers. I think around the same time, in 20 or 21, we switched suppliers and for a more locked-in price. The one thing that I was energy, as Deanna mentioned, that we are coming forward with various ideas. One item is our solar panels. Right now, all the revenue goes into paying off the debenture. Staff has some ideas that we'll bring forward with what to do with that money. And then just recently, even with help with this with water and wastewater, there's potentially new program coming out that will pay for capital costs for solar panels for net metering to help offset the cost for hydro for our wastewater plant, for example.
Perfect, thank you. And I'll just jump in. I know FCM is also offers lots of different opportunities for energy savings grants, but I know the staff have already tapped into that one too, but just if there's other members of council that are looking into that. Good, thank you, Councillor Trim and Councillor Bell.
Sorry, maybe I missed it, but the contract length with LAS, is it on an annual basis or do we have to sign a long-term agreement?
That's correct. It's an annual basis.
Good. Would it just be incorporated into the business planning cycle then? For our operating plan?
That's my understanding. I believe that they generally provide the rates in the fall is when I've seen it in the past.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Is there any other questions before I? No? Okay. I just had different levels for different accounts. In some areas, and I acknowledge wastewater is one where we know that plant's going to run those pumps at a certain RPM all the time versus office lights and office buildings or the garages. Can we secure a 65% rate for one meter and 25 for another? Is that something that's been considered?
I believe so. When LAS did their analysis, it was by building and they showed us each of the different hedges for each building. So yes, we could enroll them at different levels if the business, if the savings made sense for us, for sure.
Perfect. And that ties into any of the, the ice making plants. Each one of those have got a very predictable, annualized cycle, I guess. For consideration. So good. I'm glad to hear that. The only other one I throw this at the CAO maybe for facilities that we either lease or sublease out, would we then control that meter in the sense that we would enroll that meter under this plan, but it may be part of that leasee or?
Yeah, I would say that the strategy in my conversations with my colleagues here is that for hydro, for electricity, we would pay the bill to be able to get the savings and be able to have the data for our reporting. And we would invoice back to the said leasee. Yes. Leaser or leasee. Yes. The person leasing the building. Thanks.
Same in the case where we're leasing the building from somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm not really too sure where we are leasing buildings. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not too sure that we are, but I don't think we are leasing any facilities, but you might have one that comes to mind.
I'm thinking of the agricultural societies.
Yeah. I don't have any more input to this.
Good.
Thanks.
Any other questions from any member of council? Good. And then we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. And with that, we're going to take a short recess before we finish off. So 2:40, we'll give it 10 minutes, please. And welcome back to the Township Whitewater Region's regular council meeting for June 5th. We will call ourselves back to order here at 2:53 p.m. And we are on item 9.6 on the agenda, the Beachburg Arena temporary closure, the mold incident. The recommendation is that the council Township Whitewater Region receive this report for information purposes relating to the temporary closure of the Beachburg Arena. And a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Bell, seconded by Councillor Moore. Manager of Community Services.
Thank you, Mayor. This report was drafted upon the discovery of an incident and has been added to your agenda for today for your information. As you're all aware, in October of 2023, the Township of Whitewater signed an agreement to assign the Beachburg Recreation Association for the operation and maintenance of the facility located at 14 Caroline Street. The operation and maintenance of the facility was for ice until the end of term on June 30th, 2024. So staff has not been in this facility, and all of the services which are in the facility, including the canteen lease and everything that goes on in the building, was the responsibility of the Beachburg Recreation Association. The agreement allowed the township to remain with the right to close the arena due to any capital project, major expense, or safety issue. On May 29th, staff was made aware of an incident of mold discovered inside the Beachburg Arena dressing room number 4. The arena, including the dressing rooms, were being used weekly for sports and other rentals. Information on the incident was limited, and staff was unaware of the extent of the damage, apart from a few pictures. And the facility was closed for the safety of the users until an inspection and testing could be arranged. The timeline has been provided as part of the investigation, which kind of started since the incident, and noticed that the incident was actually discovered on May the 9th and reported following our notification on May 29th. By May 29th, notification went out on social media. The township was closing the facility. And by May 30th, the additional information was made due to health and safety. And the inspection followed. Township staff, myself, reached out to a contractor to come in and do some testing. And that was completed on May 31st. And to date, we still have not received a report to say what the end result was. We were hoping to have some information by today, but we still don't have an update. So what is in the report is what we know so far. We're hoping by the end of the week, we'll have some more information. We've received communication from the Beachburg Ag as well as the Beachburg Rec, and they've been very forthcoming with information. And we're hoping that by the end of this week, we'll have some more information. We will continue to communicate with these groups and keep everybody up to date. And as a next step, we'll be waiting on the recommendations from the results to proceed. And then just as a financial implication, the testing and the inspection was a $4,000 cost for that. So we just wanted to make staff aware, council aware that this is happening. And we've also, as a side note, we're aware that the Beachburg Fair is up and coming, and that is our timeline. But we have told the Beachburg Ag Society as a measure of due diligence to make sure they have an ulterior plan if something wasn't able to be fixed in time for that. So if anybody has any questions, we don't have a lot of information, so I will take your questions and probably return with the report when we get more information in the report when it arrives.
Good, thank you. And Councillor Bell's the mover, so I'll turn to you first.
So the mold was isolated to the one dressing room 4?
That's correct.
And so as part of that testing, is there any report that's going to come from that as far as next steps, whether the rest of the facility can be opened while keeping that dressing room isolated? Like seems like this is kind of over precaution for safety measures just to make sure that everything's kosher before you let people back in. But if everything's isolated to that dressing room 4, is the lab going to give some direction as to what the appropriate measures are moving forward? Is that the expectation?
Yes, that's my understanding. They will come back with recommendations and base that. Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Moore, seconder.
Just curious as how to proceed when the report comes back and whether there has to be demolition, et cetera, to proceed. Will this be coming back to council, or will we be giving staff permission to proceed?
I think that's going to be dependent upon the costs and the delegations within those costs. Staff, do you want to add any comment?
There's a budget in the Beachburg Arena, which we would follow. And yes, based on the costs, we can determine that.
So more to follow, maybe. Good. Any other questions from members of council? Just before I go back to Councillor Bell, no other questions? Okay, Councillor Bell.
With the repairs or the cleanup that has to be done there, how is it worded in our agreement with the Recreation Association right now as far as the responsibility for that cleanup and that? Do we have an understanding of that?
I think I won't speak on their behalf. Their minutes reference the cleanup on their own, so I think they'll be willing to assist. But our agreement states capital projects, so that's what we're.
If I could just add, so the component of insurance will likely come into play here. I think just as a result of the analysis requested, on behalf of an environmental firm for the $4,000, we're probably leaning towards our deductible, which is $10,000 for this type of claim. So likely insurance will come into play here if there's substantial cost to remediate. But yeah, I think they've expressed some remorse because of what's happened, and I mean these things are unavoidable to some degree. But yeah, I mean we'll review the agreement and it has to be fixed. There's no question of it. I mean it's a building; it has to be repaired. Council did give us direction regarding the sort of future agreements with these associations back in May. That direction was that the township would be responsible for the buildings. However, we'd be prepared to enter into agreements for the maintenance and operations for ICE of these facilities. So with that being said, I mean, the dressing room is part of the building, I would say. However, there's components of that dressing room that are used for ICE operations. And the question will come back is, well, if some of those components for ICE operations have to be replaced, well, does the onus fall on the BRA to replace those because it's part of the ICE operation, i.e. the rubber flooring, if you will, it has to be replaced. We don't have these details yet, but certainly we'll communicate with council and everybody once we have more information. But we've communicated with our insurance provider. We've informed them. They'll get a copy of the report, and when the time comes to deploy to clean it up, then we'll deal with our insurance if necessary, and once we have a better idea of cost. Thanks.
And I was just reading, I was reading through the Beachburg Rec Association minutes that were included in the committees and boards, and part of those minutes said that there was a back exit door that was noticed to be propped open, speculating that kids had been in the building off hours and the tap and shower was left on. That comes after the point about the mold in dressing room number 4. Was there, are those two, is it understood that those two incidents were related? And if that was the case, was there any police report filed or anything along those lines?
Yeah, so I think we did communicate, verbally with the BRA president, Mr. Rieger. There was some indication of foul play at the facility. Again, the township has had no access to this facility since September 2023. So they have, as I understand it, they have not communicated with the police. The township has been in conversations with the Beachburg Ag Society because they use this facility. So we are, sort of to some degree looking into it, if you will. But at this stage, the township has not connected with the OPP or I don't think the BRA has either. So we were informed last week, today on Wednesday, of the mold, and that's kind of where we stand at the present moment. The communication to us on the 29th was whether or not there was insurance to cover this. So they've, after several weeks decided, hey, maybe there's insurance opportunities, and we recognize there's an issue. It needs to be corrected immediately. Yes.
Any other questions, Councillor Moore?
Just wondering if anybody on staff knows what happens to the alarm system, because there was an alarm system in there when the building was turned over to BRA, and the alarm system should have activated if somebody was in the dressing room for after hours.
So indirectly, I was chatting with some people of the area, and yes, I've heard of this alarm system. I'm uncertain whether or not it's activated or not. It sounds like it's not activated, but again, the operations and maintenance of the facility pursuant to the agreement were provided to the BRA, and here we are today with this issue.
Anything else? Okay, I want to thank staff for stepping in and taking immediate action to ensure the safety of our residents and any of the users that we have in there. I don't need to stress, you already know the importance of the Beachburg Fair. And I know that if we can explore any possible ways to ensure that we have the facility available in a safe way, we take those steps. If that imposes costs, then I'd encourage you to look with our other partners and how we can all work together to ensure that's available for the fair. I do, from an agreement perspective, are looking forward to the next similar incident. This is a learning opportunity for us to ensure that we have the necessary steps in place to deal with any similar incident in the future. I just want to make sure that we have the steps for health and safety related concerns related to these buildings is clearly outlined. May 8th, it was reported. May 29th, we became aware of it. That 21-day period when we had users in the building, we want to minimize that. So if we can make sure that we work with our organizations we have agreements with to ensure that they are notifying us immediately of health and safety concerns that may need our action. And of course, taking steps, whatever the steps might be, to mitigate future costs. We do not want to be spending money doing cleanups on things if we don't have to. That money can be spent in other ways. Of course, react as we should. Any other comments or, yeah, CAO?
I would just reiterate what the BRA has said us. They are a volunteer group. They don't have full-time staff, as I understand it, through the summer. So these types of complexities might occur, hopefully infrequently, but, with a municipally operated facility, we're there every day, and ensuring that protocols are in place. So, the council's decision to allow for this assignment of these facilities is one that these are some of the things that might come up in the future, but to some degree manageable. But out of respect for the BRA, they are a bunch of volunteers, and there's only so much time they can commit to these types of facilities. Thanks.
Yeah, and I think it's just trying to mitigate that risk with the mind it's health and safety that we specifically want to ensure that no one gets injured. Councillor Trim.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just quickly, it's one thing to have to inquire about an insurance claim, but it's to understand that we have a $10,000 deductible. And so that has to be paid out first. So, that we can't be doing that very often, or we should try to mitigate that. So that's another consideration. We have insurance, but we have a deductible. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, if I could just add, just for clarity, and I will review the delegation of authority bylaw. So we might not return to council to to get approval to use that insurance. I think I have the delegated authority to deal with that type of claim. So, but we will, update members of council as things progress and where things stand and how it's impacting other service users. So just stay tuned in the next week for some updates. Thanks so much.
Good. If there's nothing else, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Excellent. Next item on the agenda is notices of motion. Are there any notices from any member of council today? Okay, I see none. Correspondence. There's none that require direction. There's a number of information items, and I'll just quickly go through them. The first one is a affordable housing bulletin. And CAO, stop me if there was one that you had wanted to speak about. The next one is the note from the Renfrew County ATV Club on their SPCA ride. We spoke to it at last council meeting, but this is a copy of that correspondence indicating how much money they were able to raise. The third item is the Petawawa Airborne Grand Opening at the Petawawa Area Airport. And I believe, I don't have the date in front of me. June 14th, is that?
Yes, June 14th.
June 14th. So we've been extended an invitation to attend that opening ceremony if you're interested. Next item is the OPP Detachment Board introduction from the Office of the Solicitor General. Dr. Morgenstein has provided his medical officer report for the last, I think it's a 60-day period that he provides on that. So there's a lot of information there. And the last item is the Senior Women Living Together presentation. And I would like to speak about this one just for a moment. This is a volunteer organization that's working at finding housing solutions for single senior women. So it may be 2 or 3 or 4 that come together and rent a place together rather than trying to secure a single place. Not-for-profit organization. They have a whole screening process to go through and try to find the right roommates and the right locations. They've been doing extensive work. I believe it's in Ottawa, and they are expanding to Renfrew County. So you may see some of this start to come up. They've done presentations with the seniors active living groups in Eganville and Renfrew and Petawawa. I've mentioned that they should connect with our team here. And again, it's just to make it share the information out as much as possible so that there are single women out there that are interested in participating. This could be a very viable option for them. Good. Good. There's no other comments or questions on any of the information items? Yeah, CAO?
If I could just add on the letter from the minister or the Solicitor General rather. So in our package tonight, we do have a bylaw to appoint 2 members of the public to our Renfrew OPP Detachment Board. This is the new board that's been formed in the last couple of months. So we do have Councillor Tabbert, who sits there and was appointed by this council a number of weeks ago or a number of months ago to sit on that board. So just that'll close out the council's need to appoint members. So that kind of closes it out, and that'll be adopted subject to council's approval tonight or this afternoon rather, to appoint the members to the board. And then the other partnering municipalities will do the same. And then the Renfrew Police Services Detachment Board will be formed and ready to operate. Thanks so much.
Good. No other comments? Excellent. We'll move on to announcements, and I'll start with the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything at this time. Thank you.
Councillor Bell?
Just the one, I believe the Historical Society is having their plant sale on June 15th. I'm not sure if it's on the calendar there yet, but I'll see if we can get it up on the calendar. But I believe the plant sale is going ahead on Saturday, June 15th. So if anybody's looking for some plants to purchase, that is an opportunity.
Good. And I'll jump to Councillor Olmsted.
I do have an announcement, but there's probably somebody better than me to speak to it. So I just want to be sure it gets covered off, is that the Whitewater Region Volunteer Fair on June 15th. Hopefully somebody has better info than I do about it. Stephanie?
I'm going to go ahead and speak. Unfortunately, I will take this opportunity to let you guys know that we have canceled the fair. The notice will be going out very shortly. We didn't have enough groups to come together to have that take place. So we will be canceling the fair for this year with going into budget next year, hoping to plan for some entertainment and another opportunity for this to happen. So unfortunately, the library board decided that it was something that they would like to look into, but just not right now.
Well, then I will add another one onto it then. The Codman Civet 10 golf tournament fundraiser is coming up August 2nd. I don't have a whole lot of more information about that at the time, but just a heads up that it's coming, and maybe next council meeting, I'll give a little more information about that. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. And sorry to hear it wasn't. I know June becomes busy and we see a lot of other activities. So unfortunately, but yes, I think planning for next year earlier may be helpful. Good. Councillor Moore.
Just a reminder that this weekend in Beachburg on Saturday is a community yard sale, and it goes from 8 a.m. to 1. And I will be flipping burgers and bacon, so come and see me.
Councillor Trim. Excellent. And I have a couple, June 8th, RCMP ride. And I think you should have all received an invitation from the Cobden Egg. Yes. Okay. So there's an invitation for council to come for the RCMP ride. And in the morning, I'm attending the RCATV AGM. It's like 9 words and 9 letters. That I don't know. I'm going to have to go in somewhere in my calendar. Okay. They've asked me to attend just to talk about B-Trail. So good. And just I'll get the clerk to send this out to everyone. The Silver Chain Challenge. So this is a competition between Lanark and Renfrew County to see who can do the most activities, physical activities outside during the month of June. So they're just asking that if you do, you basically just go to this website and you can log in or send pictures of your physical activities. And then I think we've won in the past couple of years against Lanark County, but just encouraging people to promote active lifestyles, sustainable transportation. So take a picture of you on your walk or bike ride and share with the link to win. Good. Next one is the hospital has sent out their community connection flyer. I don't know if you've received this in the mail as well. Most of you might have received it already. They provided another copy to us at council. Just provide some highlights on what's happening at the Pembroke Regional Hospital. I'll provide it to the clerk. And the last item is this. Have you guys heard about Mesa? I know I've spoken to it before, but probably amid all the other topics. So this is an initiative that the county is looking for, is implementing a $2 million initiative to address homelessness and vulnerable people's needs in Renfrew County. And maybe what it's worthwhile is that I'll ask maybe if I can get a delegation of a member of Renfrew County to come in and present on it, just to provide an overview. I can also send out this electronically if you'd like to take a look at it. And it's an incorporation of, sorry, I'll just finish and then I'll throw it right back at you. It's just an incorporation. So apparently it's a mobile paramedic team with mental health, and they integrate, they go out and try to seek out and treat homeless population where they are, and then connect them to resources that they need. So it's a step to try to solve the problem, not the final solution. Good. Stephanie?
Just as a side note, our recreation staff attended a Renfrew County meeting and they attended a presentation from this group. So they are aware of what is offered as well.
So it's an incredible resource. So we'll make sure that I'll get an electronic copy out and we'll get that distributed to council. Good. No other announcements? Excellent. We'll go into bylaws. I see 5 listed on our agenda today. So the recommendation be it resolved, the bylaws listed on the June 5th agenda be taken as read and passed. I'll look for a mover and a seconder. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councilor Olmsted. Any final comments or concerns with any of the 5 bylaws listed on our agenda today? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Closed session. So item number 14. This is on the Ottawa River Power Corporation. The recommendation of the Council of Township of Whitewater Region move into closed session as per section 9 of the procedural bylaw at 3:18 p.m. to discuss a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board with staff remaining in the room. A mover and a seconder. Councilor Holmes or Councilor Moore and the Deputy Mayor. No discussion. All those in favor? And it's carried. We are now in closed session.